Today we are going to be reading Harold and the Purple Crayon by Crockett Johnson. Harold and the Purple Crayon. Harold and the Purple Crayon by Crockett Johnson. One evening, after thinking it over for some time, Harold decided to go for a walk in the moonlight. There wasn't any moon, and Harold needed a moon for a walk in the moonlight. And he needed something to walk on. He made a long straight path so he wouldn't get lost, and he set off on his walk, taking his big purple crayon with him. And if you remember, we've been talking about these lines. He drew a horizontal line, a diagonal line, and another diagonal line for his sidewalk. But he didn't seem to be getting anywhere on the long straight path. So he left the path for a short cut across a field, and the moon went with him. The short cut led right to where Harold thought a forest ought to be. He didn't want to get lost in the woods, so he made a very small forest with just one tree in it. And these little grass lines are vertical lines, if you remember, and so are the sides of the tree. It turned out to be an apple tree, and the edge of the apple tree we've been learning is a bumpy line. We have some circles for the apples. The apples would be very tasty, Harold thought, when they got red. So he put a frightening dragon under the tree to guard the apples. And you could see they drew some zigzag lines so he would appear very frightening. It was a terribly frightening dragon, more zigzags with the teeth. It even frightened Harold. He backed away. His hand holding the purple crayon shook. Suddenly he realized what was happening, so his shaking hand was making bumpy lines. But by then Harold was over his head in an ocean. He came up thinking fast, and in no time he was climbing aboard a trim little boat. He quickly set sail, and the moon sailed along with him. After he had sailed long enough, Harold made land without much trouble. He stepped ashore on the beach, wondering where he was. The sandy beach reminded Harold of picnics, and the thought of picnics made him hungry. So he laid out a nice, simple picnic lunch. There was nothing but pie, but there were all 9 kinds of pie that Harold liked best. I wonder what kind of pie you like. I think I like pumpkin pie. When Harold finished his picnic, there was quite a lot left. He hated to see so much delicious pie go to waste. So Harold left a very hungry moose and a deserving porcupine to finish it up. And off he went, looking for a hill to climb to see where he was. Harold knew that the higher up he went, the further he could see, so he decided to make the hill into a mountain. If he went high enough, he thought, he could see the window of his bedroom. He was tired, and he felt he ought to be getting to bed. He hoped that he could see his bedroom window from the top of the mountain. Look at that line. Sort of a wiggly zigzag line. But as he looked down over the other side, he slipped. And there wasn't any other side of the mountain. He was falling in thin air. But luckily, he kept his wits and his purple crayon. He made a balloon and he grabbed onto it. See, he drew a nice circle shape. And he made a basket under the balloon big enough to stand in. Can you see the shape of the basket? Square, rectangle? He had a fine view from the balloon, but he couldn't see his window. He couldn't even see a house. So he made a house with windows, and he landed the balloon on the grass in the front yard. None of the windows was his window. He tried to think where his window ought to be. He made some more windows. Can you see the windows are nice rectangle shapes with a horizontal line in the middle? He made a big building full of windows. He made lots of buildings full of windows. He made a whole city full of windows. But none of the windows was his window. He couldn't think where it might be. He decided to ask a policeman. The policeman pointed the way Harold was going anyway, but Harold thanked him. And he walked along with the moon, wishing he was in his room and in bed. Then, suddenly, Harold remembered. He remembered where his bedroom window was when there was a moon. It was always right around the moon. And then Harold made his bed. He got in it and he drew up the covers. The purple crayon dropped on the floor and Harold dropped off to sleep. I hope you enjoyed reading about Harold and his purple crayon, and we're going to get ready to be creating our own Harold and purple artwork. Thank you.